What is up, guys? Another part for the Ottoman Empire we're doing today, and this is the last episode, and then we'll be caught up with the other episode I did, kind of out of order. And this one is why did the Ottoman sultans kill their brothers? So after this, we'll be caught all the way up, and that'll be good. This is by Kings and Generals, as you may know, and also subscribe to the channel. Want to get 500 subscribers by January. By the middle of January, so like January 15th. But yeah, so also, thank you guys for getting to 300 subscribers. That's really crazy. By the end of the year, 300 subscribers on a brand new channel. That's actually really crazy. And it only took us like 2 months to do it, which is cool. That's really crazy. So yeah, definitely tell all your friends about the channel. Get us to 1,000 subscribers because we're trying to get it by Valentine's Day. So hopefully, you know what? No, I'm going to change it to the 14th. I'm going to change it to the 14th because, try to give you guys a month to get 500 more subscribers. But, let's try to get 500 subscribers by January 14th. And, yeah, so let's get into it. And, yeah, play.
The history of the Ottoman Empire is well researched, yet it is still controversial, as many of the practices and traditions were unique to this realm, which was itself unique both for Europe and the Middle East. Among these practices was the execution of the Sultan's brother after the ascension to the throne. The fratricide continued for centuries, and in this video we will discuss its history. But before we continue with the video, we would like to thank our sponsor, Vikings War of Clans. Vikings was inspired by the famous strategy games of the 90s, which we all loved, like Become one of them. Support our channel by downloading Vikings for free from the links in the description, and get the special bonus of the Novice's Relocation item and 200 gold coins for a kickstart. Although feudalism was the dominant political system almost everywhere in the world throughout the Middle Ages.
Yeah, usually that's like this was the main system that most countries used at this point.
It had different flavors in every region. Middle Eastern feudalism was heavily influenced by the Sassanid system, which was more vertical than its Western European counterpart. The ruler had direct control over all the land, which was then conditionally granted to the lower nobility for military or administrative service. Meanwhile, the governors of the regions were not feudal lords, but rather administrative representatives. The Seljuks and the Mongols mostly continued using this system, with an important distinction: these empires were divided between the sons of the leaders. The Ottomans were not the direct descendants of the Seljuks, yet they saw that the division of the empire between the Seljuk princes was disastrous. However, after the first Sultan, Osman I, died in 1324, his son Orhan offered his brother Ala ad-Din to divide the burgeoning empire, but the latter refused, probably knowing that this arrangement would make future civil wars inevitable. Many events influenced the change in the Ottoman succession laws. The first was the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. According to the various sources, the Sultan Murad I died either during or after the battle, becoming the first and only Ottoman ruler to be killed in action. Murad did not designate an heir, so
That's very interesting that he actually died in battle. He's the only one to ever die in battle from, any of the sultans. That's actually crazy.
Conflict between his sons Bayezid and Yaqub was imminent. Again, the sources are conflicted here, but some claim that Yaqub was killed by his brother in the chaos of battle. The next succession would prove even more tricky. Bayezid I was defeated by Timur at Ankara in 1402 and became his hostage. His 4 sons, supported by the Timurids, Byzantines, Serbia and local Turkic beyliks, entered an 11-year-long civil war, the longest in Ottoman history. The empire was never so close to falling. As external influence was a factor in this civil war, the Ottoman sultans mostly stopped entering into dynastic marriages during this period, and foreigners would not become a part of the Ottoman harems. It was becoming clear that the old nomadic practice of letting the princes decide who is the strongest among them was leading to more conflicts, so Mehmed II became the first sultan to officially start his reign with a fratricide, as he ordered the execution of his 8-month-old half-brother. He legalized this fratricide using these words: "Whichever of my sons inherits the sultanate, it behooves him to kill his brothers in the interest of world order." Most jurists have approved this. Let the action be taken accordingly. Strangulation would become the most popular type of execution for the Ottoman princes, as with this method their blood would not be spilled. Mehmed was also the first to name an heir apparent, his son Cem. This prince and his brothers were appointed governors of various regions to learn statecraft. At the time,
Did he put? I'm guessing he put it wrong because I know I heard. Did you hear Jim right? Because I was about to say I heard Jim and it showed up Sim. I feel like it was just the spelling, like, just like the spelling went wrong in the editing. But yeah, I just want to point that out because I was like, I don't know if I heard that right, but yeah.
Constantinople became the Ottoman capital, and the distance to it became an important factor in the succession. In order to ensure that Cem would become the next sultan, Mehmed needed him to reach the capital faster than his other son, Bayezid. However, as soon as Mehmed passed away in 1481, the Janissaries revolted in Constantinople, and the messengers sent to Cem were captured. So Bayezid entered the capital before his brother and became the new sultan. Still, a short civil war between the brothers took place. Cem was defeated and exiled, but remained a headache for Bayezid for more than a decade. Similar events transpired at the end of the rule of Bayezid II in 1511, but this time his heir, Ahmed, attempted to take the throne while his father was still alive, which forced the other prince, Selim, to start a rebellion in Thrace. Selim was defeated by Bayezid and retreated to Crimea, while Ahmed was denied entry to the city. Soon the Janissaries and the Viziers revolted against Bayezid, and Selim I became the new sultan. The latter defeated and killed his siblings Ahmed and Korkut. The succession of Suleiman in 1520 was peaceful, as most of his brothers died very young. To ensure the loyalty of his youngest sibling Uvais, Suleiman sent him to the furthest province of the empire, Yemen. Although the Ottoman realm reached the peak of its power during the reign of Suleiman, civil wars would occur again by the end of his rule. Suleiman broke tradition and started accepting foreign consorts into his harem, and some of these consorts gained never-before-seen influence, ushering what would later be called the Sultanate of Women. Among them were Mahidevran, who was either from Crimea or Albania, and Hürrem from Ruthenia, and their rivalry shook the empire. Mahidevran's oldest son, Mustafa, was the designated successor of Suleiman, yet Hürrem knew that upon the succession of Mustafa, her sons would get strangled. She managed to use the help of an allied Grand Vizier to turn Suleiman against Mustafa, who ordered the execution of his oldest son. Hürrem's sons, Selim and Bayezid, were the last remaining princes, and they started a civil war while their father was still alive. Suleiman supported Selim, and defeated Bayezid had to find refuge at the Safavid court. However, this escape was temporary. Soon Suleiman either bribed or threatened the Safavid Shah Tahmasp, and Bayezid was strangled along with his 4 sons. In 1566, Selim II became the Sultan.
They did not shy too far away from strangling people as a way to kill. As a way to kill, like, for real. He was right. That was like their preferred method.
All these events created an interesting practice. A prominent historian of the Ottoman Empire, Leslie Pierce, calls it temporary reproductive monogamy. The Ottoman princes would only be intimate with one concubine before coming to power, and would use medical means to have just one male heir. so by the time they would assume the throne, this heir was in his teens or 20s. So when Selim II passed away in 1574, his successor Murad III had no difficulty executing his siblings. All 5 were extremely young and still in the palace, which meant that they commanded no influence and had no party supporting them. Murad III also had one older heir, Mehmed. But Murad was fecund and sired at least 20 more sons after he became the Sultan. The new Sultan, Mehmed III, ordered the execution of all 20 of his brothers. According to the sources, this horrified the population of the capital. 20 little coffins were moved from the palace to the mausoleum, and the citizens witnessed it.
Yeah, I would bet that 20 child-sized coffins would be pretty scary to watch coming out of the palace.
This became one of the reasons the practice of fratricide was curbed. Another reason was that Mehmed III's successor, Ahmed I, was just 13 when he came to power and had no heirs. The only other living male representative of the Ottoman line was even younger Mustafa, and killing him could have ended the dynasty if Ahmed failed to procure an heir down the line. Ahmed I died in 1617, and as his sons were too young, his brother Mustafa I was brought to power at Port Clique, marking the first time seniority was used in Ottoman succession. During this period, the rules of succession changed in one more way. No longer were the Ottoman sultans legally allowed to execute their brothers. The new rule stated that any sultan wishing to get rid of his siblings needed to ask the chief religious and judicial figure, the Sheikhul Islam, permission to do so, and this permission was often denied. In response, the sultans stopped sending their relatives to be governors of regions and kept them in what was called kafis, the golden cage. That meant that most of the possible heirs were left uneducated and inexperienced in governmental affairs, which in turn became a reason why the sultans of the 17th and later centuries were less skilled. At the same time, various cliques within the capital gained a new way to influence the sultans, as a new member of the dynasty was just one rebellion away from being brought to power. We will continue to cover various topics concerning the history of the Ottoman Empire, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button. We would like to express our...
That was a good video, but yeah, so talk to you guys in the next video. Subscribe to the channel. I want to get 500 subscribers by January 14th, and yeah, so I'll talk to you guys in the next video, and peace.